Are you tired of battling CSS quirks and spending hours fixing design issues? These 3 CSS hacks will save you time and headaches. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, these tips will help you create cleaner, more responsive designs, fast. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more time-saving developer tricks. Today, we're diving into some super useful CSS hacks that every developer should have in their toolkit. So grab your favorite text editor, open up a new project, and let's get started. Alright, let's kick things off with CSS Grid, a powerful tool for creating responsive layouts that adapt seamlessly to different screen sizes. Whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting out, understanding CSS Grid can significantly enhance your web design skills. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Grid? Isn't that complicated? It's a common concern, especially if you're used to older layout methods like floats and flexbox. And yeah, it can seem a bit daunting at first, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, you'll be amazed at how much easier it makes your life. The key is to start with the basics and gradually build up your knowledge. So, what exactly is CSS Grid? At its core, CSS Grid is a two-dimensional layout system that allows you to create complex web layouts with ease. Unlike Flexbox, which is primarily one-dimensional, CSS Grid lets you work with both rows and columns simultaneously. In a nutshell, it's a two-dimensional layout system that allows you to divide your web page into rows and columns, kind of like a spreadsheet. This makes it incredibly versatile for a wide range of design scenarios. You can then place your content into these grid cells and control their size, position, and even the order they appear in, all with just a few lines of CSS. This level of control is what sets CSS Grid apart from other layout methods. Let's say you're building a typical website layout with a header, a sidebar, a main content area, and a footer. With CSS Grid, you can define a grid container and then easily place each of these elements into their respective grid areas. With CSS Grid, you can define a grid container and then easily place each of these elements into their respective grid areas. This not only simplifies your HTML structure, but also makes your CSS more readable and maintainable. You can specify the number of columns and rows you want, and even adjust the spacing between them. This flexibility allows you to create layouts that are both functional and aesthetically pleasing. But here's where it gets really cool. CSS Grid also gives you incredible control over responsiveness. You can create layouts that adapt to different screen sizes without having to write a ton of media queries. You can use media queries to change the grid layout at different breakpoints, so your website looks perfect on everything from a tiny smartphone screen to a massive desktop monitor. This ensures a consistent user experience across all devices. For example, you could have a 2-column layout on larger screens, with the sidebar and main content side by side. This is ideal for desktop users who benefit from a more spacious layout. Then, on smaller screens, you could switch to a single-column layout, with the sidebar stacked on top of the main content. This makes your website more accessible and easier to navigate on mobile devices. And the best part? CSS Grid is super easy to learn and use. Once you get the basics down, you'll find that creating complex layouts becomes almost second nature. There are tons of great resources available online, and I'll even walk you through some practical examples in a bit. From tutorials to documentation, you'll have everything you need to master CSS Grid. So if you're tired of wrestling with floats and clear fixes to create responsive layouts, do yourself a favor and check out CSS Grid. It's a game changer. Not only will it save you time, but it will also open up new possibilities for your web designs. Before we dive into the code, it's always a good idea to sketch out your layout. This helps you visualize the grid structure and plan where each element will go. A little bit of planning can go a long way in making your coding process smoother. Once you have your layout planned, you can start writing your CSS Grid code. Begin by defining your grid container and setting up your rows and columns. From there, you can place your elements into the grid and adjust their properties as needed. Testing is a crucial part of the process. Make sure to preview your layout in different browsers and devices to ensure everything looks and functions as expected. Don't be afraid to make adjustments along the way. And there you have it. With CSS Grid, you can create responsive, flexible, and visually appealing layouts with ease. So go ahead, give it a try, and see how it transforms your web design workflow. Now, let's move on to another CSS hack that will seriously level up your development game: CSS variables, also known as custom properties. These are incredibly powerful tools that can make your CSS more manageable, scalable, and easier to maintain. Whether you're working on a small project or a large-scale application, CSS variables can save you a lot of time and effort. If you're tired of repeating the same color values, font sizes, or other style declarations throughout your CSS, then you're going to love this. Imagine having to change a primary color used in multiple places across your style sheet. Without variables, you'd have to manually update each instance, which is not only tedious, but also prone to errors. Think of CSS variables as containers for storing values that you can reuse throughout your style sheet. They act like constants in programming languages, allowing you to define a value once and use it multiple times. This not only makes your code cleaner, but also significantly reduces the risk of inconsistencies. Instead of hard-coding values like blue or 16 pixels every time you need them, you can define them once as a variable, and then use that variable wherever you need it. This approach not only saves time, but also makes your CSS more readable and easier to update. To create a CSS variable, you simply use the prefix followed by the variable name, like this. Then, to use the variable, you wrap it in the function, like this. Now here's where it gets really powerful. You can change the value of a CSS variable dynamically, and all instances of that variable will update automatically. This is particularly useful for creating themes or implementing features like dark mode. This means you can easily make site-wide style changes without having to hunt down and update every single occurrence of a value. Imagine the efficiency gains when you can update a single variable and see the changes propagate throughout your entire site. For example, let's say you're using a dark mode toggle on your website. Dark mode has become increasingly popular, and users often expect it as a feature. With CSS variables, implementing this can be a breeze. You could define two CSS variables, one for the light background color and one for the dark background color. This way, you have a centralized place to manage these values, making your code more organized and easier to understand. Then, when the user toggles dark mode, you simply update the value of the background color variable, and voila! The change is instant and seamless, providing a smooth user experience. Your entire website switches to the new color scheme. This not only enhances the user experience, but also makes your development process more efficient. CSS variables are a game changer for maintaining and updating your styles, and they can drastically reduce the amount of code you need to write. They bring a level of flexibility and control that is hard to achieve with traditional CSS. So if you're not already using them, I highly recommend giving them a try. You'll find that they not only make your life easier, but also open up new possibilities for your web development projects. Alright, let's wrap things up with a CSS hack that's near and dear to my heart, centering elements with Flexbox. Whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting out, mastering this technique will save you countless hours of frustration. I know, centering elements has been the bane of web developers for years. But trust me, Flexbox makes it ridiculously easy. Gone are the days of using convoluted methods like tables, floats, or even JavaScript to achieve perfect alignment. Flexbox, short for Flexible Box Layout, is a one-dimensional layout model that gives you complete control over the alignment, direction, and order of elements within a container. It's designed to distribute space along a single axis, either horizontally or vertically, making it incredibly versatile. And one of its most useful features is the ability to center elements both horizontally and vertically, with just a couple of lines of code. This is a game changer for web design, as it simplifies the process and makes your code cleaner and more maintainable. To center an element horizontally with Flexbox, you simply set the property of the parent container to. This will tell the container to distribute the available space evenly around the child element, effectively centering it horizontally. It's as simple as that. To center an element vertically, you set the property of the parent container to. This will tell the container to align the child element to the center of the container's cross-axis, effectively centering it vertically. It's a straightforward approach that eliminates the need for complex calculations or additional CSS rules. And here's the best part. You can combine these two properties to center an element both horizontally and vertically. Just set both and to, and you're good to go. This combination is incredibly powerful and can be used in a variety of scenarios, from simple layouts to complex designs. No more messing around with margins, padding, or absolute positioning. Flexbox handles it all for you, making your life as a developer so much easier. Flexbox makes centering elements a breeze, and it's a skill that every web developer should have in their toolkit. Not only does it save time, but it also ensures that your designs are responsive and adaptable to different screen sizes. So the next time you find yourself struggling to center an element, remember that Flexbox is your friend. With just a few lines of code, you can achieve perfect alignment and create visually appealing layouts with ease. Happy coding! Thanks for watching. If you found these CSS hacks helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tips and tricks. We covered a lot of ground today, from responsive layouts with CSS Grid to supercharged styles with CSS variables and effortless centering with Flexbox. Remember to practice these techniques and experiment with different approaches to find what works best for you. See you in the next video.